Welcome. It's Devlin here, and welcome to Devlin's Pirate Radio Show. We got a great episode ahead for you. I'm excited. It's been a while since I've had a co-host in the studio, and I have one with me. And let's get right to it. So I'll introduce him. I met him. We worked together for a little bit. And then we didn't really know each other that well. We said hi. We were civil to one another. And then he left. And then a couple months later, I went to go teach a beginner's class at the Improv. And I recognized a smiling face. And I know that guy, though I think his hair might have been shorter then. But I still knew him. And then we became friends on Facebook and talked a little bit. And then I noticed that he asked me if he could do the podcast at some time, and he checked out the Damien and Devlin show, and I talked to him, and we got talking movies, and if you talk movies with me, you'll probably get on the show. It's a little hint. Anyhow, let's get right to him. It's Luther Griggs.
Hello. Hi, Devlin. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's great to have you here for the first time. I'm excited to have you here and get to know you a little bit, because as I said, we didn't really know each other that well.
No, not at all.
Now, you did have longer hair when we worked together, am I right? It's not my imagination.
Yeah, I had like long hair for like 2 or 3 years, I think.
Yeah, because I remember I knew your face immediately, like I know that guy.
Yeah.
But I think the hair kind of threw me. I'm like, I worked with him. That's where it is. Because you meet so many people through improv and stuff like that and stuff. Was that your first time doing improv, or have you done it?
I think when I went to the class that you taught, it was my 3rd time there.
Nice.
And I also did improv in high school and took drama classes before that in like elementary school and stuff like that too. So it's always something that I was always really passionate about, but I guess I kind of fell off of like the improv and drama scene in high school, but I do stand-up and stuff, too, so I've always really been interested in improv, so I found out about that. I think my friend Merrick told me about it, so that's why I started going. So.
I know Merrick, yes.
Yeah.
Now, have you still been going?
I think I might have gone to 1 or 2 after the one that you taught, but I haven't gone in a while. It's definitely something that I want to get back into.
It wasn't because we were sucking as teachers.
No, yeah.
Okay. I like to know that.
Yeah, I love going. It's like definitely one of the funnest things I take part in, but I just kind of like started getting busy and didn't have like a lot of money to spend on going to the class and stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely want to start going again for sure. Nice.
Now let's go back to the early days of Luther. And where were you born?
I'm born and raised in Hamilton.
It's funny because I meet so many people that lived in Hamilton a long time, and usually I'm shocked by the fact that it's actually refreshing to meet someone who's actually born in Hamilton.
Are you from here too?
I came here when I was about 7. I actually was born in Kingston.
Cool.
Then I lived in Germany for a bit, and I lived in Pembroke, and then and then it's always been Hamilton. So I consider Hamilton my hometown.
For sure, yeah.
And you come from a big family?
I guess sort of. My parents split up, I think, before I was like even 1 or 2. I'm not even totally sure. But like, my dad lives in Owen Sound and my mom lives here, and I've had the same stepdad since I was like 5, and he has a son, so I have one stepbrother who lives in England right now, actually, and then they have a kid together, so I have a half-brother there, and then my dad and his current partner have 2 kids together, and my stepmom also had another kid, and my dad's been, like, married a few times, so, like, I always had lots of younger siblings.
I was about to say, you have siblings all over the place.
Yeah.
Are you close with all of them, or?
As much as I can be, I guess. Like, my
putting them on the spot here, sorry.
My oldest sibling is Miles, who lives in England, and I haven't seen him in a long time. He moved there a long time ago. And then there's Julian, who's my mom's other child, and we're like sort of close. Like, we hang out every once in a while and do something fun together every once in a bit. And he's closest to my age, and I think I'm 10 years older than him. Like, my parents had me super young, and then like I had a few like step siblings throughout my life on my dad's side who I grew up with, and we were all super close growing up. But like the kids he has now are super young, and I don't go out there too often. But when I'm out there, I love them. Like they're really all really young. I think the oldest one is 8, and then it's like 6 and 3 maybe.
Is it weird having like younger siblings?
I love it. It's the best because it's like I just go there.
Because you almost feel like an uncle, but then you realize, no, this is my brothers and sisters.
And it's just awesome too because they're still really young, and it's like I go there and all they want to do is hang out and play like constantly. You know, it's not like any sort of preconceived notions. They're just kind of like, let's play, and I'm like, okay, sounds good. I don't want to do anything else, especially because I don't see them that often. So it's great being able to hang out with them when I'm there.
So when you went to school and stuff, were you like shy? Were you popular? Were you the jock? Were you the...
I was never really been into sports. I was on like the grade 8 volleyball team. I think that was the only sports team I was on. And maybe I took soccer in grade 2.
Everybody has a sports story. Even if you don't like sports, everybody at least tried it or was forced into it. Or...
But I always had like a really close group of friends throughout school. Like, I think the first friend I made in school, we stayed friends until like... We're still friends now. We don't see each other that often, but, you know, I always had a really close group of friends. I don't know if I would consider myself shy. I don't know. I wasn't, like, going out of my way to like, meet new people and be friends with every single person at all, ever. I think I've always think I've been a pretty, like, friendly person or outgoing person, but, like, I've always been interested in, like creative sort of stuff. Like I said before, like I took some drama classes when I was pretty young. When I found out about it, there's actually this community center near my parents' place that I like grew up going to and took like drama class and like magic class, science class, cooking class, and after school kids class.
You said magic class. Is that like literally like magicians?
Yeah, that one didn't last too long. I think there was only one time that happened because I think there was like only 2 or 3 kids in it, and it was also I don't even have that many memories of it, honestly. I don't know how much I learned there. Yeah, I think I was in like
Did they lose the bunny?
Possibly. I have no clue. I think I was in like grade 3 when that happened. So
wow.
Like, I have
the Magic Club. That's all.
Yeah, I was also in like a movie making class, which was really fun too. There was this counselor there, Mark, who was really, really wicked and definitely influenced me a lot and made it seem really easy to make movies. He just had like a little camcorder and we would come up with stories and make movies and stuff like that. And that's something I always did too, like taking like my parents' camera and playing with my action figures and stuff like that. Always really liked action figures. I think I like telling stories from a very early age for sure.
No, that's great. And I love action figures. I'll admit something to you. I do role playing, like, you know, not Dungeons & Dragons stuff, but I make my own and create my own.
Oh, cool.
And I can't believe maybe I haven't confessed this before. We literally, when we do action scenes, I will go get my old action figures out so we can play on the table. So you have these people like 20s, 30s, 40s playing with action figures.
I would love to do that, honestly. I started playing not Dungeons and Dragons, but a different version called Dungeon World this past summer, and I love it. It's so much fun. That's like easily one of the funnest things I do. It's so much fun.
Besides all this creative stuff I do, we've role played. I played Dungeons and Dragons a few times, and I played another ones, and I kept saying, I can make this better. So our version is a little different because we get really emotional in it and stuff. Like, it's not LARP.
Yeah.
Like, we don't dress up, but it's pretty close. Like, we might as well. But yeah, we will whip out the toys and stuff. Now, filmmaking is a passion of yours. You went to school for it.
Yeah. I just graduated from. I got my bachelor's degree in film and media production at Humber Lakeshore. It wasn't. Like I said, like I always made videos, and then like I started making videos with my friends in elementary school, and then in high school I took a media arts class, which is basically just like making videos, honestly, and we'd make animations and videos and stuff like that. And then I think my final project, I edited my own video, and it was like so much fun. Like most times my friends would handle the editing, and I got really, really into it after that and made a bunch of films in high school. And then I didn't like even remotely look into college until like my victory lap year of high school. And then I saw that there were programs for that, and I'm like, I can go to school to like make videos. that's all I would want to do. And then
Nice.
so I did, and school was okay. Like, I made a lot of great films, and it was a great experience. Learned a lot, and yeah, it's definitely. I haven't really been pursuing it too much lately, but it's definitely something I want to get back into. And like my thesis film that I directed for school isn't really totally finished yet either, so I should probably finish that at some point.
Yeah, and you did a couple other short films as well that you told me about. You did, yeah.
In all in school. Like I haven't really done much since I've gone to school making videos or anything like that. No new films or anything like that just yet. But the ones I've made in school, I'm really, really proud of. And
I can't wait to see them. You'll have to show them to me sometime.
Yeah, I'll send them to you for sure.
I think that'd be fun and cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now you do a lot of stuff, like you said. We've got filmmaking, we've got stand-up. The magic career didn't start yet.
Yeah, no.
So if there is a magic group out there, call him. He might be available.
I wouldn't say
magic.
that. I'll try. I'd be an assistant.
You're telling me if you didn't see a sign that said Magic Club again, that wouldn't want you to.
Maybe a little bit. I don't know.
What other stuff do you do on top of that?
I do stand up comedy. That's something I haven't really been doing it too much. I've been sort of in a weird place and super busy lately, so I haven't been doing a lot of creative stuff. But yeah, I do stand up. I've also started getting into poetry, music too. Yeah, I've been in a few bands. I'm starting a bunch now. Like a few weeks ago, I was in no bands, and now like I have like 4 different groups of friends who want to start bands, which is like so exciting.
And that's hard to find people that want to do that. So the fact that you have 4 is...
Yeah, like all of a sudden, I think because I was so deprived of being in a band for a while that I just ask everybody, like every single person, like if someone plays an instrument, I'm like, hey, do you want to start a band? And I guess I just asked the right people, and now I have a few bands potentially coming up. So
and you said poetry?
Yeah, I have only read poetry once, but I've definitely gotten more into it and like starting to write more and stuff like that. There's this poetry thing called Moon Milk, a monthly poetry show.
Yeah, tell me about this, because you told me about this and I want to hear about it.
Yeah, it's a monthly poetry show. It used to be at this place called Casino Art Space. But now they're doing it at this other gallery called Haven. And I started going, I think I've gone to the past like 5, maybe 6. And it's amazing. It's just, it's great. I go and it's such a wicked, cool, diverse group of people. And it definitely opened my eyes to a different sort of creativity, because I think stand-up and poetry is kind of similar, but I've always been kind of scared of poetry because it's a little more honest, and sometimes I get worried about, like, I don't know.
I've never heard that referred to, but now you say it, stand-up and poetry are very similar, even though they seem worlds apart.
Yeah.
Because some comedians work their personal stuff in.
Yeah.
Poetry is very personal as well, so yeah, I never even thought of it that way.
Yeah, for sure. But I think I definitely reserve myself with stand-up and stuff like that, whereas poetry, I try to at least be a little bit more honest or tap into a different kind of emotion, I guess, maybe. But it's amazing, and it's definitely something I've connected with new friends on and stuff like that too, and it's definitely something I'm excited to continue to try and be a part of. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some other things that I do. I'm not.
Hey, you're already doing tons of stuff, and now you can add podcasting.
Yeah.
You co-hosted with me. You're kind of a renaissance man in a lot of ways. That's a person who does a little bit of everything, and that's great to see that you at least try different things. And as you said, one week you might be more into stand-up, and then a couple months later you might think, oh, let's do music. But you have them all there. That's the wonderful thing about it.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like just in general, I've been so affected and influenced by like so many different kinds of creative mediums that I'm like, I don't know, I'm just so inspired by it in so many different ways that it's just, if I can sort of try to recreate that and like reach out to people and connect with people with the same sort of thing, it's like, I don't know, I think it's really important, and it's something that I really appreciate. So if I can consume the media and the community and stuff. Like, I'd like to do my best to try and to contribute to it as well, at least.
See, that refreshes me because I love hearing, like, because I have friends of all ages, but I love hearing somebody your age. You are, if you don't mind me asking,
23.
23. Like, talking like that, it inspires me because, I work with a lot of, Valley Village, we have a lot of 23s, and sometimes, no offense, they're beautiful people, I'm sure, but sometimes their conversations are a bit like, getting drunk, going to play video games. Very refreshing to hear creativity and stuff like that, and because I'm not saying you can't get drunk and have fun, but you can also do other stuff and talk about other stuff. Sorry. And you told me you actually listened to 3 of my podcasts before you came.
Yeah, before.
Friends of mine family members haven't even listened to my podcast. I love that you did homework.
Yeah, before I came, I listened to the past 3.
The last 3, okay.
Yeah,
That's kind of a newer. The old ones are just the same thing, but I kind of took a more of, I'll just keep talking about different things more, where my other ones I usually have 20-minute blocks of what I have in that. So, I don't want to put you on the spot here. Obviously, I didn't scare you away because you came to do the podcast. What did you think of them? Like, is it weird? Because I do sometimes talk about, here's a movie I saw and fuck the world. Well, maybe not that harsh. I try to put a positive spin even when I'm dealing with stuff that drives me crazy.
It's good. I think, like, it's weird because I think I watch, like, or listen to on the internet, like, a lot of different things where it's like, I think even if I'm not interested in what people are talking about, I think I just appreciate hearing people talk. Because it's cool. I think it's that kind of thing where it's just kind of like, maybe a bit of like a vicarious thing where it's like I have a lot of things that I wouldn't mind people hearing or whatever, so it's like, why not hear other people out? And like and you do talk about movies, and I really like movies, and I watch the Damien and Devlin show too, and
he's a fan here. Okay.
I just appreciate people passionately talking about stuff, anything really. Like, I could probably.
We get passionate with Damien and Devlin.
Yeah, for sure. But
I always assume though people are watching it for Damien, but he's actually got a woman at his work that says, "No offense, if you guys ever come out with merchandise, I want a Team Devlin shirt. No offense, but I tend to agree with him more, but I always just assume people watch him and I'm just there." But,
yeah, well. I don't know, Damien. I watch it for you, Devlin. So.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. Plus, and I love that you talk movies and stuff. Actually, if you ever want to come and do another podcast with us, I would love to do a thing called Topics Teaserama with you. If you don't know what it is, check it out. It's on I do it with a lot of the other co-hosts I've done, where we get topics in a hat and literally just pull them out and talk about anything. Sweet. It could be a movie, it could be asparagus, it could be, a political thing. We don't get too political, but and it's fun because sometimes it's like, except there's a lot of manscaping questions in there that you're like, why is this in again?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Sounds awesome. There's actually this really cool thing. I've only ever gone once, but there's this Matthew Serena and I think Aaron White, who are 2 comedians.
No, Matthew Serena, yeah, absolutely.
They do this thing called what is it called?
At the Staircase?
No, it's a stand-up workshop. Why I can't remember the name. Okay. I wish I could right now. I don't know.
Because I know he's the host of Hammer Night Live.
Yeah, I've actually done that show before too.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. But it's cool. Yeah, you can go and you say your stand-up, and other comedians in the group will give you critiques or ideas to extend your jokes and stuff like that. And we did this wicked thing called Stand Prov, where people just write stuff on a piece of paper and then you just pick it out and try to do stand-up based on what you do. And that's so much fun. I wish I could just do that. Maybe I should just do that when I do stand-up.
There you go.
Give me a topic and I'll just go do whatever.
That's a good gimmick. Everybody has a little gimmick or something. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, no, I know Matthew Serena. He was actually... I taught in one of the classes. He came, and a couple of the stand-ups that he uses regularly are in there too. It's cool.
The first time I went, Matthew Serena was there when I went to improv at the Staircase.
Nice, yeah. Wow, that's cool. Now back to movies. Who you taught you your love of movies. You actually had a couple people in your life that have.
Yeah, for sure. I think at a super young age, like my parents weren't like super well off. Like my mom was like 18 when I was born, and like but like because we weren't super well off, she always put an effort into like try and expose me to new things and stuff like that. And I think she worked at a video store for a bit even too, and she would bring movies home all the time or try to take me to the movies as often as possible. And I think it was really important for her to just I guess maybe this seems kind of weird, but like your parents try to like push the things they like on you. And you're like, hey, I really liked this movie when I was a kid. You should watch this. So,
I have so many Facebook friends who are like, oh, my 3-year-old's starting hockey, like acting like they don't know, but they've been in hockey all their life. So it's like, well, they probably had like a hockey jersey in their crib.
Yeah.
But it just happens, right?
Yeah, I remember my mom bringing home like movies like Labyrinth and Dark Crystal and Last Unicorn and Legend.
Yeah, definitely loading you up on the 80s and
stuff
late
like that.
70s.
So I watched lots of stuff like that, and I think just in my family in general, like movies are really important. Like my aunts and uncles, my dad, I don't have too many memories. I think my dad didn't even have a TV for most of my life, honestly, until I was probably like 8. And so like later on, I think it wasn't until I was older that I started to connect with movies with my dad. But also my uncle went to college for filmmaking. And I think I even acted in a couple of his student films too. And so
that would be cool to see.
Yeah, his stuff. Like going over to his house and seeing his giant shelves of like movies and like other movie pop culture paraphernalia and toys.
I don't like people like that. Just kidding. He's surrounded by it right now. So
it's an incredible room.
Yeah. Did you recognize this room immediately from the Damien and Devlin show?
Yeah. As soon as I came in here, I was pretty stoked. Honestly, I was just like, "Oh, this is where it all happens."
Yeah, we left some of the stuff out, so he's actually getting a surprise of what our next movie is that we're not telling you because you'll see it before him anyway when this airs. It's confusing. We're getting into that podcast thing. Now, I'll be honest. A lot of people tell me they like movies. And I respect everyone who likes movies. Some of it's mainstream. But he won me over because of one thing. I posted a little video. The video had nothing to do with this topic. And Luther just writes, "You have a Xanadu poster behind me." Which anybody who knows me wasn't surprised by that. But I asked him, what's your knowledge of this Xanadu? And he blew me away. He had actually seen it and liked it.
Yeah.
And has seen it many times, I believe.
Yeah, I love Xanadu. If
you ever want to come into the show, just say you like Xanadu, and trust me, if you say you've never seen it, you will see it with me. Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no problem.
I love it. 23 talking about Xanadu right here. I'm just reminding everybody.
Yeah, I think it's just another part of my mom trying to impose her childhood on me. But yeah, I grew up watching Xanadu and Grease a lot, and I get excited because you're right. Not a lot of people know of Xanadu, and it's a kind of like a cheesy, silly movie, but it's so amazing, and the music is so good, and most times when I bring up Xanadu, people just think I'm talking about The Rush.
The Rush, familiar with that. Yep.
But it's like the concept is amazing. I know when I tell people, I'm like, oh yeah, Olivia Newton-John plays like a roller skating alien, and they're like, what? And like that sounds amazing. I'm like, yeah, you should probably watch it. It's really good.
No, and I love it, and you like the music and everything with it, and most of the people who I've met, I've probably been the one to show them Xanadu. In fact, I'd like to get a show of hands, well, not now on a podcast. I'd love to figure out just how many people I have, and there is one who hasn't been. But Damien will be Xanadu'd at some point in his life. We watched Grease, and that was fine. So, yeah. So, he will get Xanadu, and he said, bring it. I can take Xanadu.
Nice.
And I don't think he can take Xanadu, but I can't wait to see his expression. Because I think I told you earlier, I had a movie. On one of my birthdays, I had no plans. And I just asked my friend who was running the staircase, anything in the staircase tonight? And she said, no. I said, could I invite a few people to watch Xanadu? I want to see Xanadu on the big screen for my birthday. And We brought in a cake and about like 12 of my friends who
So
some had seen it, some who didn't. Most liked it.
Yeah.
A couple were like, that was horrible, but only for you I would sit through that movie.
Is it a Xanadu cake?
No, it was not. This was all last minute.
Oh,
like,
okay.
I literally put it together. I didn't even think people would show up. But now I hope to one day have an actual Xanadu. Like, I joked once I should do a cheesy 80s musical month. Like, every month I'll do a musical. And I was surprised the people who said, I'd come. Like, and I said, you don't even know the musicals I've got going. You know, and some would be good musicals too, like, because there was some good 80s musicals, like, well, Xanadu I consider good.
Yeah, I think it's great.
It's in my top 50 movies, even though some would, like, lose credibility, but no, it's great. And I love that you actually had the album and everything.
Yeah, I have the record. My mom actually, a few days ago, she came home and she's like, oh, I got you a gift. Like, she went to some, like, collector's mart thing, and she's like, I got you a gift. And she came out and she's like, it was the Xanadu soundtrack on record. And I'm like, Mom, I already have this.
I was just pointing, it's actually underneath all those things.
Yeah,
nice. Somebody bought me for it.
Wicked.
He said, you probably have this, but hey, you're never going to have enough.
But I already had it, and she actually got it for me, I think, when I was like 15 or 16 as a joke forever ago. And she's like, oh, I got you this record. I'm like, Mom, I love that movie. This isn't funny. Like, I think it's wicked. Thank you for the record.
I have seen that movie so much. Magic is actually my all-time favorite song. I've used it in so many of my shows and stuff that I actually have people say when they hear Magic, they think of me, and that brings tears to my eyes, because for what a great song to be remembered for.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Well, I hope that one day we get to watch some movies together, because you seem to be inspired. I want to show you a movie that one day you say, a friend of mine, Devlin, showed me that, and I'll never forget that movie.
Yeah.
It might be a bad movie, but
we'll
you will remember. I have a couple that we talked about that I want to expose you to.
Sweet. But, another Xanadu thing, actually, a few years ago, my stepdad and some friends planned like a Xanadu themed party, and they rented out, or not rented out, I guess we just all went. We went to Scooter's Roller Palace in Mississauga. It's like a roller rink there, and they all got dressed up in like ridiculous clothes and stuff like that, and it was really awesome. And the craziest thing is that when we were there, Drake and Serena Williams were actually there too.
That's awesome.
And it was super weird. My I think all of my, at least on my mom's side, my family, we like to rip on each other a bit and joke around and prank each other. I remember my Uncle Dave came up to me and he's like, Luther, do you ever listen to Drake? And I remember thinking oh, it's just my uncle. He's just trying to act like a kid and be all like, oh, I know young kid stuff. I'll try to relate to my nephew. And I'm like, yeah, I think his music's okay, whatever. And he's like, oh, cool, because he's here. And I thought he was messing around. And I was like, all right, yeah, whatever. And he's like, okay, and just walked away. And I remember I was roller skating and I saw Drake and I was like, oh my God, is this actually happening? It was ridiculous. It was crazy.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
And remember, if you do have a Xanadu party, everybody goes for the leg warmers and the neon, but you can dress in 1940s outfits too.
Yeah, it's true.
And if you don't want to see, doesn't that make you anybody who has not seen Xanadu? Anyhow, I know Luther talks a lot, and we're going to talk a lot of cult and indie films after the break. Thank you for being here. I hope you're enjoying it so far.
I certainly am.
And we will continue right after this.
Welcome to your favorite drive-in theater and a sparkling new season. Watch our screen and local newspapers for all the fine shows coming this way. Show after show will feature the latest hits, the biggest stars for fun-filled, pleasure-packed evenings. Relax, come as you are, and spend an enjoyable night out with the entire family. No parking problems, no babysitting problems. And there are always tasty snacks at our modern refreshment stand.
Thanks, folks. And once again, welcome back.
And we're back. I'm here with my co-host, Luther Griggs. You having a good time?
I certainly am.
Well, that's good. And we're going to talk some movies now because, as I said, I like movies, and you've been watching them since you were a kid. Me too.
Yep.
I always say the reason I started getting into movies is because, well, my father was older when they had me. Like, he was in his 40s, and so he didn't throw the football around or anything. And our big thing was every Sunday we'd go see a movie. And we did that right up until the early 80s. And, yeah, like, we'd mostly see, like, Disney movies, G-rated, and then Star Wars came out, and I begged them, take me. And they wouldn't until my brother saw it and said, he's not going to have nightmares or anything. He'll be fine. And then after that, it was Saturday Night Fever, Grease, anything we could get our hands on. How did your love of movies, your mom, I'm guessing, had?
Yeah, well, definitely, like, I think my mom just had a bunch of movies that she really liked as a kid, and she had a kid, and then was like, oh, you gotta watch these, like I said earlier, like, yeah, I remember her coming up with Dark Crystal Labyrinth, and actually also The Last Unicorn, and I actually still have all 3 of those VHS tapes. So, yeah, and, like, we weren't very well off. Well, I guess we still aren't really, but, like, when I was younger, my mom definitely put in an effort. Like, she wanted to, like, take me to see a movie almost every week or at least once a month and stuff like that. And, like, my dad definitely, maybe we didn't connect on movies as much when I was younger. When I was with my dad, we would, like, go out for hikes and bike rides and, like, skateboard and stuff like that. It wasn't until I was older that we started watching movies together and stuff like that. And also, my uncle went to school for film. I looked up to my uncle so much when I was younger. Like, I went to his house and he had, like, all these crazy cool toys that he, like, put on display. He had, like, 5 display cases full of toys.
I don't know what that's like.
What?
I don't know what, like,
no,
it's
not
like
at all,
having toys around.
Yeah, like, I'm still amazed by this room still, but if I was younger, I'd be like, oh my god, this person's the greatest.
Yeah, the living room's a little light right now because we're getting ready for Christmas, but that whole thing is usually filled with toys from all eras.
Yeah, so, like, going to his house and seeing all that stuff, and he always had, like, huge shelves full of DVDs that he's pretty much mostly sold now or given to me or other people and stuff like that, and, like, we just watch movies all the time. I remember going to his house and we just, like, go to the Blockbuster and rent a ton of movies. Like, the first time I saw Princess Bride was at his house.
Similar movies, not quite, but...
Or, like, this movie I really like called The Warriors of Virtue about kung fu kangaroos and stuff like that. Like,
that one.
I love that movie. It's so bad, but I do have a soft spot for
Sometimes
that
the
movie.
bad movies are the best. I don't have as a fond a memory, but I remember seeing it and stuff like that.
Well, that movie is actually really cool, too, because... I think Tank Girl came out before it.
Yes.
And so they had all these kangaroo costumes, so the MGM, like, repurposed them for this kung fu kangaroo movie.
I know Tank Girl. I haven't seen it in ages, but I love that movie.
I love that movie, too.
Do you remember the first movie you were obsessed with?
That's a good question. I don't know. I from a young age, I'm not sure. My mom would probably tell you maybe, like, the Gumby movie, Batman and Robin.
You looked up the Gumby?
I don't know. I barely remember watching it. Rewatching it now is weird. The concept of that film is actually so wild. Like, watching it now is really weird, but my mom said that, like, I used to just watch it over and over.
Do you know if that was new Gumby footage or was it old stuff from the 60s? Because Gumby, I have a lot of Gumby from the 60s, and it's very psychedelic.
I don't know.
And I'm thinking, this played on for kids? It seems like high school kids that might be smoking up or having a good time, let's just say.
I think the Gumby movie might have been, like, late 80s.
Yeah, I remember it coming out. They kind of wanted to bring him back.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was a successful comeback.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird.
They still have toys of him around.
Yeah.
I think all my Gumby stuff's packed up, but I have toys of him too.
Cool. But yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe when, like, the Phantom Menace came out, I think I was, like, 6 years old, and, like, everything was Star Wars, and, like, all my family and all my parents got me, like, Star Wars everything. And I remember when they re-released the original trilogy in theaters too, like, my dad took me to go see them all and stuff like that. So, but, like, I don't know, maybe when the Phantom Menace came out, like, I had all the toys and, like, all the posters from Taco Bell and, like, the cups and
Taco Bell.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know maybe the first one I was ever, like, obsessed with. But,
do you remember, like, playing any as a kid?
Like, what do you mean by, like, just watching them?
No, like, I don't know, maybe, but hopefully I wasn't the only one who did this. Like, I'd see a movie, and then my friends would go out and play Star Wars or something.
Yeah, I was, like, forever, like, I had Actually, I think the first toy lightsaber I had, I think I was like 4.
Yeah.
It was probably the best one I had.
Yeah.
And I was always like super into lightsabers. Like I used to have tons of them. Like always, I had like a trainer Jedi kit when I was younger, and
Sweet.
had like the braid thing and like all the gadgets and stuff like that. And I used to always pretend that I was a Jedi. I think one time I got sad because I'm like, I'm never gonna be a Jedi. That's just gonna be my life. Like being young is like that's just never gonna happen.
Yeah, we played Star Wars all the time. I had a blonde friend and a brunette friend, and guess who got to play Princess Leia all the time? And I always pretended like I was upset about it, but I actually kind of liked it because I kind of knew I was gay. I just didn't know. So I was like, oh, I get to play Princess Leia again, and I'm like secretly like, yeah, get me the buns. Well, that's cool. That's cool that you did that. So, now we talked about your favorite movies. Now you named me 3.
Yeah.
Do you remember them?
I think I told you.
I didn't recognize 2 of them, but one I had seen a long time ago, and I remember liking it, but it's not an easy one to find.
Yeah, I think it's changed now because I've been rewatching a lot of my favorite movies.
Oh, okay, sweet. Then what's your current favorite movie this week?
I'll talk about the ones that I told you. I said Me and You and Everyone We Know, which is like, I think it just might always be my favorite movie. I feel like until I see something that is better. Like, it probably won't happen.
Tell me a little bit about it, because when people tell me about stuff I don't know, when I respect them, I kind of want to look into it.
Yeah, well, this is still my number 1, Me and You and Everyone We Know. It's so good, and I think maybe a part of the reason I enjoy it so much is that it is really hard to explain. And I guess maybe technically it might be like a romantic comedy, but it's written, directed, and starring this woman named Miranda July, an amazing writer, my favorite. Like, she's only put out 2 films and put out a few books, but everything she's done is just like hit like everything on the nail on the head for me, and just like struck the perfect note. And I love everything that she's done. Like, I'm obsessed with her. Nice. But anyways, this film, Me and You and Everyone We Know, it's one of those movies that has like a bunch of different characters that sort of have their own stories going on. And they sort of like intertwine every once in a while. And I guess maybe sort of the main character is her, who she's like this performance artist, and she runs a taxi service for old people to drive them around, and she's trying to apply to get into this art gallery, and then she slowly starts falling in love with this guy because she brought this old guy to the mall and he was trying on shoes, and then he met this guy who is also like in the middle of a divorce and has these kids who are weird, and like there's a million different characters.
Nice.
And it sounds really mundane and lame.
Is it American,
like
Canadian?
It's American. Okay. But the way I like to describe it, and the why I think it's so important for me is, with Miranda July's style in general, it's like expressing yourself without any filter. Like, every character sort of says things freely, and it's the sort of things that maybe you'd say in your head that you'd be like nervous about other people talking to other people about it, and just like admitting these sort of things to yourself and being okay with it and open with it. Like, there's lots of like ambiguous sort of like sexual content to it, like these the guy's kids, they just got like a computer with the internet, and they're on this like chat and like having sex conversations with older people, and it seems really weird, but it's also really fun, like cute and like innocent at the same time. And like, being a kid that sort of grew up with the internet and like running into questionable things, it's like it's the sort of things that maybe you don't want to admit, but this movie kind of addresses a lot of these sorts of things.
Nice.
And,
I'm
like,
very intrigued already.
It's really good. And it's like, there's also this storyline where there's like these teenage girls who are at this bus stop, and there's this other character, and they're sort of like joke flirting with him, and then he's like, oh, like, I'd never be into you girls, you're way too young. And they're like, well, maybe we'd be into you. And they start like sort of like joke flirting with him, but also start of becoming obsessed with him, and he'll write notes for them in his window saying these really gross, perverse things, but they're kind of into it. And like, it's kind of politically incorrect, but it's the sort of things people experience.
I'm there. I'm in.
It's the sort of thing. It's the sort of things people experience.
It's
you
real.
know, like
having
feelings and urges that maybe you're not so proud of, and like, but you still go through it anyway. And
is this easy to find? Like, would I be able to find it?
Yeah, it's on the internet. If you just like Google Me and You and Everyone You Know movie.
I'll have to look at it. I'm very intrigued by it.
It's really good.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then my other one, which is still my number 2, is Slums of Beverly Hills.
I think I've heard of this one.
It's so good. It's with Natasha Lyonne, and I'll watch anything with Natasha Lyonne. Like, I love her. And she's just like this girl in like a lower class family, but they live in Beverly Hills because their father kind of is obsessed with this idea of coming off as more better off than they are, and he wants them to be in a good school system and like make sure they have a good education, but they're like super poor and they're moving from place to place and doing all this stuff to try to like, I don't know, stay afloat and stuff like that. And I think it's sort of something that I've also dealt with in my life, like, I don't know, sort of being in like a lower income family and like trying to tell yourself that like everything's okay and like, you know, everything is okay, but also like having to confront those moments where you're like, oh, maybe we're not, but we're okay because we still have each other, and like it's really really good. And it's like her and her dad and her brothers and her cousin, and it also kind of like deals with a lot of like confronting things in your sexuality when you're a kid and like trying to feel comfortable with it and stuff like that, and it's really good. I really really love that one.
Nice.
And then the other one I told you was Welcome to the Dollhouse,
which I have seen.
Yeah, which I think also deals with a lot of the same subject matter, obviously.
It does, yeah. I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember really enjoying it when I first saw it. That's when there was a great little theater called the Broadway downtown, and they showed a lot of indie films. And sadly, when we lose these little theaters, we don't get to see a lot of those until they come out on DVD or something. Yeah. But it was great. The Broadway was great because they showed old movies as well as like independent films, and I remember hearing a lot about it and got to see it because of it, and it was good. That's awesome, that you. I definitely want to check those out.
Yeah, they're really good.
There you go.
I have Slums of Beverly Hills on DVD if you want to borrow it.
Sounds good. I'd like to check out these. I love taking chances on films. I've just kind of gotten back into movies again. I went through, when I got into improv and stuff, I'd still watch movies. Like I always go to the movies and stuff, but I stopped kind of in my 20s and early 30s. I really got into cult movies and weirder movies. Like I searched them out and stuff. Yeah. And as I said, luckily the Broadway got me a chance to see not only like classics on the big screen, but I got to see like Rocky Horror Picture Show and Pink Flamingos and stuff like that. And those, they changed me in a lot know. Even a movie like Pink Flamingos. I don't know if you're familiar.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh man, I don't know if you're ready to see it. I know you're probably ready. I have some friends that they're like, oh, show me cult films, and I'm like always like to Mike, they ready for Pink Flamingos? No.
I've seen Crybaby and I've seen Female Troubles and
if you've seen Female Troubles, you're okay with Pink Flamingos. Okay, Female Trouble's rough.
Yeah.
Pink Flamingos, I think, is one of John Waters' best because not only is it crude and rude, but it predicted the way the world would be in some ways with reality television and how people can be celebrities just being, you know, horrible people now.
Yeah, Female Troubles is kind of like that too.
Yeah, he likes going down that path, and John Waters is one of my favorite because he's just, I love everything he says. Like he's his own self, you know, and some of his movies aren't always the greatest, but he's got some awesome ones. Well, I'll have to, maybe you're ready for Pink Flamingos. If you did Female Trouble, I love Pink Flamingos, and I've got the 25th anniversary version, which has him talk about it about 20 minutes after, uncut scenes.
Oh, cool.
So funny to see.
Sweet.
Like, he even admits, like, what the hell was I doing? And this was, like, crazy. Like, you'd probably enjoy it too because he was like a renegade kind of filmmaker. Like, they did this with like his mom making sandwiches.
Nice.
I don't want to give too many spoilers, but there's a scene where there's a sex scene that involves a chicken. Okay. Now, they don't have sex with the chicken, but the chicken is definitely where there is sex happening. And to show John Waters' kind of humor, the chicken died, and they actually were happy because they didn't have sandwiches that day. They actually had the chicken. But he believes that the chicken died for art. They didn't kill it. It just happened to die. But it's a scene that you can't unsee, but I love that I've seen it, and I get... Yeah, it's dark but funny. And you'd know Divine because she was in Female Trouble and stuff. And Divine, another one of my all-time favorites. And I love mainstream stuff, you know. A lot of my favorite movies are mainstream.
Yeah.
But if you look a little further down the list, that's when you'll start seeing like things like Showgirls and Pink Flamingos and Mommy Dearest, like
Sweet. I just
Faster
saw
Pussycat. These are some of my all-time favorite cult films.
I just saw Mommy Dearest like in the summer, and same with Showgirls.
Did you like Mommy Dearest?
I love Mommy Dearest. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy because I actually showed this to some friends who wanted to see cult films, and we had to put a disclaimer because we know it deals with child abuse. Okay, for anybody who's not familiar, Mommy Dearest is the Joan Crawford story. And Christina Crawford wrote a book, which was one of the first big celebrity books claiming child abuse. Mm-hmm. Now, the movie became infamous because it actually killed Faye Dunaway's career, even though they said she probably should have got an Oscar nomination for the role.
Yes.
It's crazy. I think the best quote I ever heard from it is that Mommy Dearest probably created more drag queens than child abuse activists. But one thing I always liked about the movie, or thought was bad for the book, was the movie actually makes it look like she wrote the book to get back at her mother.
Yeah.
And it almost like invalidated all the stuff that she had done with the book.
Yeah, I've heard it's not true to the book as much. So.
Well, the thing that I always is that Joan Crawford actually had 4 kids, and there's only 2 in the movie because the other 2 claim that it's all bullshit. Yeah. So, but I have to always, when I show somebody that movie, I am a strong advocate against child abuse, but this movie takes it to a degree that's so ridiculous at times that it's laughable. Yeah. And I don't want you to think I'm laughing at the child abuse. Yeah, no. I'm laughing at the take of it. But it's one of those movies that cross a line because some people are like, how can you find that movie funny? And I go, because it did create more drag queens.
Yeah, I also feel like it's sort of, you're just kind of laughing at, like, you're just like, you can't believe that this situation exists. Like, it's so absurd. You're not laughing in support of anybody. Right. Your mind is just sort of blown. You're just like, what? Like, how's this going? Yeah. Wow. And even just believing that it's like, could have been true.
I know. Some of it probably was. Yeah. Like, some of it was. Like, the part where the daughter was on a soap opera, and when she gets sick, the mother played her role. Yeah. That apparently was true. Like, that's craziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Showgirls. Oh, hold on here. What did you think of Showgirls?
Showgirls?
I saw it opening night, and we laughed all the way through it.
Yeah.
And I have always said that I could teach lectures on Showgirls of how awfully beautiful this movie is for me. Mm-hmm. But I know some people don't think the same way.
I don't think it's a bad movie.
It's entertaining.
I think it's a good movie. I love this style. Who's the director again? Like
Paul Verhoeven. Yeah. The guy who gave us RoboCop and Starship Troopers.
It's so crazy because, like, I think what's so interesting about it is that it's him that did it. Like, I don't know the backstory to why it got made or something like that. If it the script was like, here, do this.
Now, the rumors I heard is that this was one of the most anticipated scripts. Like, Madonna was reading it thinking, oh, I'd like to play in this. And when I see the dialogue in it, I go, how was this script the most, like, everybody wanted it?
Yeah.
And some people's careers ended because others didn't.
Yeah, Kyle
MacLachlan, he survived it. Gina Gershon is, I just can watch that character forever. My dream is to play her on stage in, like, a drag mixed, change all the genders. Like, the guys are all girls. I would love that.
Cool.
And, and I just think it's a bug nuts movie. And I actually think it's a perfect cult movie except for the plot twist at the end. I won't give it away because I still want. And this is a movie, if people tell me, show me any interest, I'll be like, let's go in the other room. We're watching Showgirls.
Nice.
Because it's just a sexily unsexy movie that, like, they tried to make a big screen pornography movie that fails. Like, the one scene that she does with Kyle MacLachlan in the pool, I call the epileptic fish scene. Guys have told me they found it erotic, and I go, how is that erotic?
No.
I have seen weird stuff. The scene with the chicken and Pink Flamingos is probably more erotic than that is. But the scene where the one friend meets her idol and something bad happens to her,
okay,
I do not like that scene because it's almost like she's the only good character, and they actually had to ruin her accidentally by making a horrible plot twist that was not needed in the movie. It's just a dirty little scene that I hate. It's the one blemish that I'm like, this would have been a perfect movie. Somebody sent me an article that said Showgirls is a great movie because you can debate who made the wrong choices in every scene. Was it the acting? Was it the directing? Was it the screenplay? And I love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, okay. So, tell me some of your favorite movies that you absolutely love. You never get sick of.
Yeah, well, there are those top three. I don't know. I feel like lately I've been finding a lot of movies that I really like really quickly, like right away.
Mm-hmm.
One movie, I don't know if you'd be into it, but one movie that I think is really underrated and also kind of like famously known for being bad, which I think is wild because I think it's amazing. It's a movie called Belly, and it stars DMX and Nas.
Okay, there you go.
They also wrote and produced it, and it's also like a super bland story. Like they're just kind of like these like young thug guys, and then they like just want to start selling heroin, and then they make a bunch of money and then like get caught or whatever. But the style of it, this director Hype Williams made it, who's famous for doing like pretty much like every big rapper ever. He's done like all their music videos.
Okay.
Like famous.
So it seems like a good choice to do a movie.
Yeah, the only feature film he ever did, and the style of it is like insane, like wild, and it seems maybe a little bit too much like style over substance. But I watched it for a second time for the like a month ago or something. And I was like, no, like a lot of the direction here makes a lot of sense. Like really cool, interesting camera angles that sort of like express the like tension between characters and stuff like that. And some of the characters are so wild. Like there's this guy who's like also a drug dealer that's kind of like their rival, and he has like this like crazy flat permed hair and these huge glasses, and he's like super tiny, and he has like these big thug dudes that follow him everywhere. And there's like this Jamaican guy that takes DMX to Jamaica to buy heroin, and you can't understand him at all.
Wow.
Like he has this like super thick accent, but he's just like super badass, and like it's like it's so cool. Like it's ridiculous and silly in its own way, but I think it's really interesting, and like the style is crazy. Like the opening of the movie, the opening scene of this movie is easily one of the greatest things I've ever seen in a film ever. It's completely blacklit, and they're robbing a strip club, and they have like these contacts in their eyes to make their eyes look like whiter, like kind of like Marilyn Manson sort of thing.
Okay, yeah.
And it's all blacklit, and then they put on like white ski masks, I think, or like pantyhose over their face, and like that's the way everything looks, and they're like running into the office, and it's all slow-mo, and it's like this loud booming club music, and the visuals are just insane. And then after they go back to DMX's house, and everything he owns is white, and they're like hanging out in his like white leather couches, and there's this giant painting of this like really amazing looking black woman and a white backdrop, and like Nas is sitting there, and it's like this crazy low angle, and they're watching Gummo. Have you seen Gummo?
Yes, yeah.
The guys are watching Gummo, and they're like,
which is a strange one that they would put in a movie.
Yeah, and I love Gummo too, so it's really cool.
That disturbed me, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Some movies disturb me, but I still love them in a real,
But it's so crazy because DMX just puts on Gummo, and all of his friends are like, "What are you making us watch?" And he's like in the room playing pool on his.
It's kind of like the chair wrestling and stuff, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's so good.
It's been a while, but
it's another one I could get into. I wrote a really wicked essay on that movie, actually.
Yeah,
I love Gummo.
Yeah, that's man.
Yeah, but Belly's really
it's
good.
exciting
It's
just
super
hearing
underrated.
you talking about these weird movies, but I've talked to people my age, and one of the reasons I got into film reviewing is I was talking, I remember it being in a car with a man who was older than me and a man who was younger than me, and I mentioned Faster Pussycat, Kill Kill.
Okay.
And they were like, what? At the same time. Now, I thought the younger person, I wouldn't be surprised, but I was surprised the older person didn't know it. Mm-hmm. And I recently showed that to a person who's like, oh, show me all the cult films. And he was actually impressed by it. Have you ever seen it?
No, I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's a movie by Russ Meyer.
Okay.
And you can definitely tell it was a movie that that definitely inspired like Quentin Tarantino and a lot of stuff. It's actually not a bad movie, but I swear there's no goodness in this movie. But they play it fun. It's about 3 go-go dancers who decide to go kind of on a killing spree.
Okay.
And it's fun.
I love movies like that. Like, have you seen Sugar and Spice?
No.
This movie also super underrated, and you'll love it because it's like it's such a movie nerd movie because it's about this high school cheerleading squad.
Okay.
And one of them gets pregnant, and their parents kick them out, and they can't afford to go to the hospital to have the baby, so the cheerleaders become bank robbers.
Oh,
But
I think I remember it in theaters.
So
but
good.
I didn't, yeah.
And like a lot of weird cast members, I can't think of their names right now, but people you'd recognize, and they like
James Marsden just popped into my head. I don't know if he's in that or not.
The guy who played Cyclops in X-Men.
James Marsden, right there. He just popped into my head. I don't know why.
He's in it. But he works at a video store, and the cheerleaders, they just rent a bunch of heist movies to learn how to rob banks.
That's cool.
And they do like crazy like flips and twirls and stuff to like spray paint out the security cameras and stuff like that. And
that sounds
so
good, yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, go-go dancers are going to killing
Yeah,
spree.
no, Pussycat is in the late 60s. It took me forever to find this movie. I think it's probably the most expensive DVD I ever bought because I needed to have it. And yeah, it's a wonderful movie. It's got really clever dialogue. The lead actress in it she just passed away recently. I can't remember her name right now. It's like Tallulah or something. But she's got a look. I always like when, that's one thing I love about John Waters. He casts people that are like unique.
Yeah.
He doesn't just go for, actually he does go for beauty, but it's his style of beauty. Mm-hmm. And I love when that happens. And this one girl, you can't even describe her sexuality. It's just so raw.
Oh, sweet.
And I think you'd enjoy it, definitely.
Yeah. I think two other directors that are really good for that are David Lynch, too.
Oh.
And also, do you not like David Lynch?
I love David Lynch.
All right, cool.
Well,
yeah.
I'm not loving his later stuff.
No?
I'm a Twin Peaks nut.
Yeah, me too.
And I cannot get through season 3, the new stuff.
I haven't finished yet, but I was really enjoying it.
I'm about 6 episodes, and because I like the prettiness of it, and we're not getting that in this. I can't get past Dougie.
Darker.
Yeah, but Blue Velvet, Eraserhead, that stuff, A Wild at Heart,
that's my new number 3 movie is Wild at Heart.
Oh.
Watch Wild at Heart.
Rockin' good news.
It's so good. I love every time freaking Nick Cage gets stressed out and he has the 2 cigarettes. He'll take the 2 cigarettes. Oh, it's so good.
I had a friend, we went to see that at the theater again at the Broadway.
Yeah.
And he said, I didn't like it because people don't talk like that. I go, that's good. People should talk like that.
Yeah.
That's what I love David Lynch. His worlds are so beautiful. And I think because we're not seeing that beauty and it's hard for me to get through. And I didn't like some of his later ones, but I honestly want to go watch them again because they were kind of train wrecks. But sometimes I like to rewatch bad movies to make sure I was just in a bad mood at the time.
Yeah,
who was the other director?
And Harmony Korine, who did Gumbo, definitely casts the most interesting people ever. I don't know. Sometimes watching his movies, you feel bad because it almost seems like he's taking advantage of these people who are very interesting in their own sort of way. But he always finds the most interesting people to put in his films, always.
John Waters had Anne Ede, that girl, the woman, she seems like she might be a little slow or retarded, and she was in a leather... Is that the right movie, or am I... She had
John
this...
Waters movie?
Yeah, the Female Trouble.
Okay.
And she was in a leather outfit where all the sides were cut out, and you could see the layers of fat.
I don't remember it as much. But...
Yeah, I remember showing that to somebody, and they just, jumped a foot back when that scene came on. But I love that John Waters put her in this sexy leather outfit, but because she's overweight, you could see all the layers of fat on her. Mm-hmm. And I just liked it because he's just so... I keep going back to John Waters because he's a culty guy, but he was Renegade. Now, what I like about you is you studied film. Mm-hmm. And I've met some people who studied film who say they have a hard time watching movies now because they're over-analyzing it, but you don't seem like you have that problem. You seem like you still get things you find the beauty in some things that other people would say, well, that's just a crappy movie.
Yeah, well, I would say I do definitely have that issue still, but I feel like I've just lucked out recently. I've been watching a lot of movies that I get immersed in hardcore, but there are definitely movies where the editing will just be so bad that I can't watch it, and it makes me so frustrated, I have a lot of issues with documentaries now because we learned about documentary structure and how a good documentary is really good and how it's so easy to make a not great one, and so that's something that I definitely struggle with. And I also know, like, not to like rip on mainstream movies as much, but I also feel like I try to avoid it because I feel like sometimes I have issues with being as passionate about it because maybe I would find a little bit more issues with it because I have these like preconceptions of like, you know, it being like a corporate board meeting, like, oh, we have to have these things in the movie and stuff like that.
Which sometimes works, but sometimes doesn't.
Yeah, sometimes. But I feel like I've been trying a lot to like focus on movies that are definitely very vision driven and not so much like, well, we have to make X amount of superhero movies or this year, that sort of thing. But like,
it's weird that we actually superheroes has become a genre now. You know, I grew up at a time where we didn't have that. You know, I saw Superman, and that was like one of the first big screen movies. They had serials and stuff, and now it's like a genre. It's like you get like 4 or 5 a year now, and you know, even going to like a place like Cinema One, superheroes is now an actual.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, superheroes is now its own. It's not with action anymore.
Crazy.
You can literally go in and. Yeah, so it's weird that we actually seen the birth of something because there's just so many out there and stuff. Sure. And it's I don't know. I find it fascinating because we actually have a genre that was born where there was a time where you were like, okay, we have a couple superhero movies and you'd be lucky to get them. Sure. And that. But now, do you like mainstream movies still?
Well, like I think it just depends because like I feel like mainstream movies are just like kind of just like silly action comedies or superhero movies. Like there's not much in between anymore. I feel like lately there's been some like cool sort of breakthroughs. Like I really like Denis Villeneuve, who did the new Blade Runner, and like he came out with Arrival and Sicario and like all his movies that he's been doing. Like somehow people are like have faith in him and are putting his movies out on like wide releases and stuff like that. But like typically like I think it's just hard for me to get stoked on most of mainstream movies because most of it just seems like stuff I've already seen before. So it's like, unless like I think it looks really interesting, I usually won't see it until someone tells me that it's like better than usual. Like, but like, you know, I love Guardians of the Galaxy were really cool. Yeah. I really like the new Blade Runner. I'm trying to think of like other newer movies that I saw that I really liked. I liked the new It movie. I thought that was pretty good.
They did a good job with that.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Have
you seen the movie I obsessed about this year, Baby Driver?
Yes, I did. That's another.
I've seen it 4 times. I have a poster in my thing. I'm obsessed with that movie.
The crazy thing is, I remember I went to see that movie with my partner at the time. We're not together anymore, but we went to see it on a whim. We're just like, oh, let's just go see it. Like, we weren't doing anything. And then we were singing Deborah by Beck on our way there. Like, before we even see it, we were just singing the song together, and then they bring it up in the movie, and we, like, lost our shit. Like, we were like, no way. Like, there's no way this came up right now. Yeah. It was, like, such a wicked moment. Yeah, but that movie is really fun.
I love every frame of it. I just watch. I know when I start obsessing over a movie because I start watching little aspects and mannerisms that the actors do, and just like, and I got obsessed with that, and I pretty much forced everybody to see it, and they loved it, so I was happy. I was happy because sometimes you share things and I was like, what the hell was that crap?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have a lot of friends that are into the indie movies and stuff?
That's cool. I think all my, like, I watch movies with my friends all the time. It's a pretty frequent thing. Also, like, I know I brought it up to you when we first started talking on Facebook, but I also use this website called Letterboxd. I don't know if you've heard of it at all.
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is.
It's wicked, and especially, like, if you like obsessively watching movies like me and, like, a small group of my friends, and it's just, like, you log every movie you watch. So you just watch a movie, and then you go on the website and say, I watched this, and then you can give it a rating, you can write a review, you can make lists of movies, you can look at other people's lists. Like, I've discovered so many cool movies this year just from being on that website, and like just like say I'll watch like Wild at Heart, and then you can see a list of lists that movie's in, and it'll be like, weird movies, and you just like look at that and see all the ones that you haven't seen yet.
Very cool.
It's like, it's a really, really helpful tool, and it's really good, easy way to manage like.
I love that you're searching out weirder ones, and ones that are hard to find.
I found this wicked list, and it's probably the coolest one I found, called Canuxploitation, and it's all Canadian exploitation films.
I just discovered that there was these Canadian
Yeah.
exploitation
I watched
films,
this really cool movie. It's probably one of the coolest movies I've watched this year, called Being Different, I think, and it's a documentary about freak show people.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
And it's really, really cool and very visually and stylistically interesting. And it's almost like, it is a documentary, but it's almost like just like an art film, because the way they shot it and the transitions and the cool stuff they shoot, and like having voiceovers of like people talking about like just being normal, but you know, it's like a person that's in a freak show, and it's really good. It's on YouTube too. A lot of the movies on that list are actually on YouTube, so it's easy to find.
Yeah, so that's the cool thing. YouTube actually has like weird, like some of the older movies and that are actually, you can find newer movies sometimes if you're lucky, especially ones that are hard to find. Mm-hmm. People will put it up because it's like you can't find it. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's great. When you said that, there's another great movie you might have seen, Freaks. From the 30s.
I don't think so.
It's actually used real. It's like a weird soap opera kind of movie. It's really short. It's by the guy who directed the Bela Lugosi Dracula.
Okay.
And this movie was actually banned in theaters because people were so unnerved to see the actual freaks were used in it. Okay. But they're so sweet in it, and it's a weird story because it's a love story, but they casted all these like actual freaks from freak shows. And it saddened me that this was actually banned, and it's one of my favorite cult movies.
I'll have to check that. That sounds really interesting.
I'll have to show you some of my favorite cult movies. I actually have a listing of my favorite cult movies. And when I call cult, my term of cult is not only just rare things, but if a movie has like hit nerves, like I consider Star Wars a cult thing in some ways. Even though it's mainstream, it created an obsession.
For sure.
And then the smaller things like Freaks, which a couple of you know, that was probably a big thing back in the old days to like, that's what they would hunt down to see. Yeah. But it's an amazingly little weird movie. Mm-hmm. But it's sad when you find out that they actually didn't do it.
That's too bad.
And sometimes the movies are bad, but I like what they attempted to do. Mm-hmm. Like Terror in Tiny Town.
Okay.
Have you ever seen that? It's a all-dwarf western.
Oh, okay.
And I was trying to find the right terminology for little people.
Yeah.
It's a western they made using all little people, and it's actually called.
I'll check that out for
It's not a great film, but it's almost.
It sounds worth watching.
Sometimes I have to see a movie, even if I know it's not going to be good. Because it's like, I'm watching this. Somebody thought this was a great idea, and it's out there. And that's probably on YouTube. Maybe I'll have to put that on Mondo Nostalgia. I don't think I've ever played it on there.
Freaks and Terror in Tiny Town?
Freaks and Terror in Tiny Town.
Okay,
I think I have them around here somewhere. Sure. But yeah, no, it's great because I love that weird stuff too. But the Canadian exploitation. What I like to do is, when I see a weird movie, I watch it, and I usually go and try to look up information about it. I want to see, was this a hit? Did they even get theatrical release? And then you find out weird little things about them. Like one of a Canadian film I love is a horror film called Black Christmas.
Okay.
That actually predates like Halloween. Mm-hmm. And John Carpenter's even said that he paid homage to Black Christmas. Sweet. But Halloween is considered one of the first person kill movies. Yeah. But this was a guy that when Bob Clark directed it. It has like a lot of people from like Andrea Martin from SCTV, Margot Kidder, Olivia Hussey's in it, and it became a really popular horror film. Now this is the original, the '74, but he went on to go. This Bob Clark, I love. He made Black Christmas, and then he made Christmas Story. So he's made two very different Christmas movies, which was a flop movie, but has gone on to become like a beloved Christmas movie. And he also did one of Canada's biggest grossing movies that they kind of don't even want to admit is Canadian, Porky's.
Okay, I've never seen
it. That was like the tits and ass kind of movies of the 80s. But that was grossed over $100 million, and became one of Canada's biggest flicks. And they say it's actually more of an American film. There was more American funding, but it was a Canadian movie. When it came out, they just kind of were like, Porky's is our #1 film. But I like that it was a big international success. For the longest time, you couldn't even get it in Canada. But all done by one Canadian director, Bob Clark.
Good job, Bob.
He left us, but he gave us some good, crazy movies and
That's
stuff.
good.
So, any movies that you have planned that you want to see in the future?
I have such a big list.
Ones that are absolutely you have to see.
Well, now I want to watch Freaks pretty bad. This isn't like super cool or anything, but I've been meaning to watch The Wrestler for a while. I haven't seen The Wrestler.
I just watched that a couple of weeks ago. No, maybe months. Mm-hmm. Damien wanted to see it, and he just mentioned, I want to see The Wrestler. Mm-hmm. That's the one with Mickey Rourke, right? And I just happened to be in this, used video place that has, videos for, $5 or something, and there it was, and I said, I'll pick it up, and we wound up watching it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, someone I work with is not as into movies. My friend Sam and I, who work at Serve, are really into movies, and we go on and on to our friend Tom about movies, and he's like, you guys haven't seen The Wrestler yet, so don't even talk to me. But I also got Johnny Mnemonic on VHS, and I've never seen it.
I couldn't tell you anything about it, but I saw it in theaters,
and
I know I enjoyed it, but I think I went because Henry Rollins was in it, and he's one of my all-time... Henry Rollins, I believe, is in that.
Okay.
Don't quote me, and he's one of my heroes.
Sweet. He's in Jack Frost with Michael Keaton.
Is he?
He plays
don't tell me I have to watch that one.
Yeah.
Is he really?
It's not that bad. Yeah, because Michael
Keaton... now you got to watch, because there's two Jack Frost. There's a horror film that's a really bug nuts, amazing horror film.
Yeah.
And then there's the Michael Keaton movie, but... I may have to watch it now because Henry Rollins
plays a hockey coach in it.
His
kid's hockey coach. It's hilarious because he's just a straight hockey dad kind of guy. He's not a Henry Rollins character at all.
You know what? I saw Henry Rollins do spoken word, and I remember walking with my brother and my friend after seeing it and said, I want to do that.
Nice.
And so when I did my monologue show, it's I did it. This is what I do.
That's
and even doing the podcast and stuff. Yeah, I didn't even, and then I got into him. I listened to his, I'm not into heavy music, but I listened to some of his heavy stuff.
Sweet.
I like all kinds of music, so it was he was a big fan, but I did not know he was in Jack Frost. So.
Yeah, I remember the last time I watched him, oh my god, is that Henry Rollins? It was just on TV.
I love that you know who Henry Rollins is.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, I'm a huge punk
fan. Have you ever seen on YouTube, as a movie fan, you might enjoy it, RuPaul has a thing where she drives celebrities to places.
Okay.
And I became a fan of it because some of the episodes she has, 4 of them that are 4 of my icons, Olivia Newton-John, and they talk about stuff.
Yeah.
And she talks about Xanadu and Andres, John Waters, Henry Rollins, and Cassandra Peterson, who is Elvira.
Oh, cool.
And she drives them places and asks them questions as they talk. I think it's called RuPaul Drives.
Okay.
And lots of other ones, maybe some independent stuff that you should check it out. It's really phenomenal. Just because it's just 2 people in a car talking about stuff. And I like it. These are all icons. As I said, I just got back into watching more indie films. I was getting kind of tired. I'll still always go see mainstream films.
Yeah.
Because my dad taught me when I was little that you can, and the reason I watch garbage films, you can find something good in almost any film.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Even the worst movies, even The Matrix, I can always find stuff to talk about. I keep getting myself in trouble with these Matrix fans. But, even you can watch anything, and you'll find something I'm really glad I watched it, even though the movie sucked. In my monologue show, I said one of the movies I watch every year, even though I know it's horrible, is Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Okay.
And it's horrible, but I watch it every year to remind me how bad it is, and I go, why do I torture myself? But I enjoy some nuances of it.
Yeah.
It's just a strange movie that I love that somebody said, hey, let's make that movie. Mm-hmm. I actually think it's a perfect movie they should reboot and make it the way it should be, because he doesn't really conquer them. He just no spoilers here. It's more like a poke and tickle kind of thing. But yeah, my dad always taught me any movie you can find entertainment with, and it's not a bad movie if you are smiling through it.
Yeah.
When Damien and I watched Enter the Dragon, he absolutely hated it. It's a kung fu classic. But I said, you were laughing all the way through it.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, I have good memories of watching it with you. And I go, so that kind of makes it a good movie.
For
But
sure.
so I love that kind of thing. And that's why I get into that kind of stuff. And I love meeting somebody like young that is not afraid to go off the beaten track and not just look at what the show times were. But I started going, I got tired of the mainstream movies, and I still went, but I wanted to see some of these ones that because I watch movie review shows and I get to see all these, because they live in like big towns where they get theaters that still show that. And then I started going to the Westdale again just before it closed.
Yep.
And I got to see some wonderful little films like, that was just amazing to see. Like Sing Street. I cannot believe I could have missed that. And I've shared that with so many of my friends, and everybody's like, why didn't that get more? Like, it did well, but it should have got a lot of love. Like,
sure.
The music, the story, the
really good.
relationship. I'm not surprised you saw it. And, I love it.
Something that, like, I guess this is sort of a plug, but, like, I think, because the Westdale's gone now, but the AGH...
It will come back. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But the AGH does film screenings every month. They just had their World Film Festival.
Nice.
And they bring a lot
And the Staircase does a film fest for indie filmmakers, which...
But the World Film Festival, they get, like, big title indie films out. And they just had the World Film Festival, and I saw a lot of cool movies, like this one called Beach Rats, which is, like, about this, like, young gay guy who's kind of, like, afraid to, like, open up to his friends about it. And then this other really wicked Canadian film called Werewolf that has nothing to do with werewolves. It's this, like, young couple who's, like, on the methadone program and just trying to get by and, like, having relationship problems and stuff like that. A beautiful, amazing film. So good. People should check out Werewolf. It's really good. And then they had Brigsby Bear, this movie called The Square The Square was really good. I can't remember the director's name right now, but it's really cool. It's about this, like, pretentious art gallery owner, curator guy who's, like, dealing with, like, his own troubles, and then there's, like, cool metaphors about, like, the art show that he's showing at his gallery and the parallels in his life and trying to figure out his own situation and stuff like that, and all these really, really good films. And, they have a Facebook page, which is, like, the AGH World Film Festival and I Love Film series, and they do monthly screenings, and I'm a part of their youth council, and I also volunteer with them with the screenings as well.
Oh, nice.
And I think it's unfortunate because I think a lot of people aren't aware of it. Like, but this year we had a really big.
Well, you have made me aware of it. That's an awesome thing.
And hopefully other people can find out about it because.
Well, you're telling them right now on this millions of people. Yeah. Okay, maybe not, but if you get one other person, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, but I think people should be paying attention to that because my friend Ryan is the film curator at AGH, and he puts a lot of work in to try and get really good, cool foreign and independent movies playing in Hamilton, and we don't always get, like, the biggest audiences, and I'm so glad that this year at the film festival there was, like, a really decent turnout, and I think more people should come because I think a lot of people I feel kind of tired with the state of mainstream films, and people say with Westdale gone, they're like, oh, I can't see cool movies. I'm like, no, there's still
coming back. They're working on it. Next year.
But there's still cool movies coming out every month because of AGH.
It's just they don't know. Yeah. Well, as I said, the Staircase does the Hamilton Film Festival. That's now been running for quite a while now, and that I got to meet. I volunteered one year, and it was amazing. I got to see some good movies and meet a lot of filmmakers. Year. Did you really?
Yeah, I had a short film in last year.
I got to see some of your short films. Is there a way I can see?
Yeah, I can send it to you.
All right, cool. I will end this with, I did a podcast a little while ago of movies I love, but I can't recommend to people because they'll think I'm twisted. But I enjoy them, and I'm like, I don't want to recommend this, and I want to just say a couple of the titles and see if you've seen them.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
Okay, now so I can't remember all of them. Okay, Pink Flamingos might have been in there.
Okay.
Let's start with Hotel New Hampshire.
Never heard of it.
Okay. It was a weird movie.
Okay.
Nobody I know who's seen it liked it, but I find a weird attraction to it. I don't love it. I like it. I'm trying to think of the movies. Antichrist.
I tried watching that once,
Fuck.
but the thing is that the inciting incident at the beginning.
Oh my god!
It's supposed to be something horrible, but I was laughing.
Really? Yeah, it's one of those mixed.
It's just like the opening scene is a baby jumping out a window while people are having sex, and I just laughed.
Yeah.
And the whole movie, you're supposed to feel bad for them because that happened.
I just kept thinking, is this happening? Is this happening? Is this happening right now?
Yeah, so I don't know. I think everyone tells me to watch that, so I need to get around to it.
You know what? It's a hit and miss. I've described it to people, and they said, you know what? Your description is plenty. I don't think I need to see it. See, when I hear somebody say this is a movie you got to see, I kind of have to go see it, especially if it's a darker movie. I'm like, okay, the last one I'll give you is a Canadian film, David Cronenberg, Crash.
I haven't seen
Not
Crash.
the Academy Award winning one.
I have heard
the
of
one
it.
where people get turned on seeing accidents. Yes.
Yeah. I haven't seen it, but I'm a big Cronenberg fan. I love Videodrome.
Yeah.
I really like The Brood.
I haven't seen Videodrome in ages. I'd love to see it.
I have it on VHS and on DVD.
Yes.
I really like The Brood, and I've seen The Fly, and I've seen Existence, and a few others I can't think of right now.
The Sweet Hereafter was his big one.
Sweet Here. I don't know if I've seen that one.
Yeah, that was I think that was his real critically acclaimed one. That was about the school bus. A small town where all these kids die in a school bus, and the whole town is reeling from the fact that all their kids died except one or something
that wasn't Cronenberg, I don't think, actually.
I think that was Cronenberg.
Yeah? Oh, okay.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Because I remember we had a Canadian cinema unit in my film studies class, and that was one of the films we could pick.
Well, if I'm wrong, I'll write you and tell you I'm wrong. But I thought it was Cronenberg.
Mm-hmm. No, it's the other big Canadian, not Adam McGowan, but there's another one.
Yeah, I know. There's a couple. I should know my Canadian things. But yeah, Crash, when we saw it at the theater, I checked my friend, and we actually saw it in a double bill with a Lynch film that was coming up.
Oh, sweet.
And I remember after we watched it, we were sitting there just looking at the screen, and they had the intermission, and I said, "Did you enjoy that?" And she was like, "I think I enjoyed that."
Yeah.
And then later we were watching this shows of the day. We were watching Siskel and Ebert, the big reviewers. Yeah. And Ebert was saying, if you enjoyed this film, you should go directly to a psychiatrist and talk it over. And I remember my friend, who I didn't go see it with, had seen it, and we were just sitting there, and after the commercial came on, I said, I kind of found it a little erotic.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, I did too. I guess we're perverts.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it in ages, but
That's one I've been meaning to watch. My uncle told me to watch it a while ago, and I just haven't gotten around to that.
One of my nephews said, what's the weirdestly perverted movie you own? And I'm like, well, Crash would be up there. Andy Warhol's Dracula would be up there. Some weird little things in there. It's not like I have a weird porno collection or something. But as far as those kind of movies go, those would be the ones that would have people go, ah! I have had a great time talking to you. I hope you stick around a little bit. We'll talk some more movies.
For sure.
Yeah. But unfortunately, I only do a little bit. I think we ran over, but it's my show. We're allowed to. I hope you come back sometime.
I'd love to.
That'd be great. And find out where your life's going, if you've chosen music or stand-up, or if you're going to start that film that I can do a supporting role if needed. No, sorry, I'm just kidding. I'd never force you into that. But if there's a role for me, I'm available.
For sure.
Call my people. Thank you very much for coming out, Luther. It was great to not only talk with you, but get to know you a bit better. And stuff.
Great getting to know you as well.
Excellent. I will be back next week. We're coming up to Christmas and stuff. One quick question. Any Christmas movies you have to watch for the holidays, even if it's not a Christmas movie?
Well, Elf is a classic. Actually, I need to watch this every Christmas now. Have you seen the movie Tangerine?
No.
It's amazing. It takes place on Christmas Day, and it's about two transgender sex workers in California, and it's Christmas Day, and one of them just gets out of jail and is in a relationship with her pimp and is trying to find him, but she finds out that he was cheating on her. while she was in jail, and the whole movie is just her going all over this area in California to try and find him. And the whole thing was shot on an iPhone, and it's easily one of the best films in the past 5 years. It's amazing. It's
nice.
It's just a really cool, fun comedy adventure, and there's some really weird, dark stuff in there too, and it's amazing. Like I can go on and on about this movie. It's so good.
And that's great. I like that you came up with Elf and Tangerine.
Yeah,
one that people can find anywhere, and the other one they'll have to work for. But sometimes working to find a movie is fun. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's worth it. Other times it's like, that wasn't worth the work. But anyhow, I will talk to you very soon. Thank you again, Luther.
Thank you.
And I will talk to you very soon.